Rahman Rahim, good afternoon, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at what we're discussing. First of all, we're going to tell you that Pakistan has announced the squad to play against West Indies in the 3 one-day international series that takes place in Sri Lanka, 22nd, 24th and 26th of August when this series will take place. Now this squad is something to talk about because we see some inclusions there where Fahim Ashraf makes a comeback. That's an interesting one because obviously I think this squad more or less would replicate what we're eyeing in the Asia Cup and then the World Cup. Probably one or two inclusions, exclusions could be there. But it's a very decent squad, and a lot of people who are associated with cricket have called it a very strong squad for Pakistan. So Babar Azam leads as the skipper, and we see many names including Mohammad Haris as the second option for Pakistan as far as wicket keeping is concerned. Mohammad Ridwan obviously our first choice. Wasim Jr. makes a comeback as well. There's a lot to say about this squad, and then of course we see Shaheen Shah, Afridi, Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf with the lead pace attack as well for Pakistan. Spinners include Usama Mir, Salman Ali Agha is in there as well, Shadab Khan is in there, Saud Shakil has been given a call up. I think that's an impressive move as well as far as strengthening that middle order is concerned. Whatever Pakistan go with, it's a good inclusion. So we'll talk about that squad in detail, considering what options do we have for the World Cup as well, because I think that is the real focus that we want to take to. Then of course we move on and we discuss some more things in the world of cricket. West Indies and India are up against each other in a T20 international series. In the 5-match series, West Indies lead 2-1, but India won the third T20 international and Surya Kumar Yadav was named player of the match. Up and down India at the same time, but the fact is that they're in a rebuilding phase, so they're eyeing a team for the future. And I know people have thrown all sorts of criticism on this Indian side. They've got problems as far as the World Cup is concerned, but you know, to be really honest, they don't mind results where they're even losing if they're able to build a team. Now Hardik Pandya is the skipper in this series. Next series they get Jasprit Bumrah as the captain. So they're just trying to make some experiments, and they've done it in the past. We remember in the era of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, we had Suresh Raina captaining India for one series, Shekhar Dhawan for one series. You know, all of these changes were made at that time as well. So we'll discuss them in detail. Then of course we move on to hockey. In the Asian Champions Trophy hockey tournament, India beat Pakistan 4-0. Pakistan are now out of the tournament. India moved through as top of the table, and of course once again disappointment for Pakistan hockey. And then of course in the later half of the show we discuss football, and of course we tell you that you know, the latest news from the world of football is there as well. FIFA Women's World Cup, the qualifying lineup has been completed for the quarterfinal, which begins tomorrow. Spain to face Netherlands, Japan's going to lock horns with Sweden, England is also in action. That's what we're discussing on the show in detail. Time now to introduce the guests. First of all, in studios we've been joined by cricket commentator, broadcaster, presenter and our cricket expert K. Asif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. I'm very well, thank you.
And we've also been joined by cricket expert and analyst Rizwan Haider. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed.
Now, Rizwan, I'll give you this first one now, because this squad is something that, you know, a lot of us have been discussing, especially you've had a keen eye on players that you think could make Pakistan squad for the World Cup. What do you overall make of this squad that has been announced?
Well, overall a balanced squad, but you know, 2 or 3 areas where we're lacking. Spin department, off-spin department is the first one that comes to mind. Then we've had this problem. We've had Fahim Ashraf in the near the team for the last couple of years, but he hasn't played a one-day international in the last 2 years. Now the problem is he was very suitable player for, you know, a tour to Australia when the T20 World Cup was there, when we didn't have a fast bowling option all-rounder. But for Indian wickets, I think I'm surprised that he's just been chosen now, but probably because of the new selection committee. Not a bad choice, but how he does on those wickets, there's a question mark. The other problem is Wasim Jr. No, I haven't seen anything from him that qualifies him as an all-rounder in the last couple of years. He's been with the T20 squad, he's been with almost every squad that's been announced. He's not even been in part of the playing 11 for most of the time, but whenever he has had the chance, or even in the league, PSL or something, he hasn't really performed as an all-rounder. And as a bowler, I mean, you have better choices. You don't need to have 5 or 6 fast bowlers for a tour to you know, Sri Lanka or India for that matter.
Yeah, the Asia Cup is something I think Pakistan is also eyeing, so we might see this squad be replicated at the same level as well. So, you know, that's going to be very interesting. Asif, overall, what do you think of the squad, Fahim Ashraf's inclusion, and also Tayyib Tahir has been given a call up for the national side?
Well, Ahmed, see, we had a discussion earlier on about Inzamam ul Haq being his personality and his you know, power of taking some good decisions or not. So if you see Inzamam ul Haq, I'm not happy with this squad. You know, as Rizwan was mentioning, a couple of things, and one of them is the inclusion of Fahim Ashraf. Of course, everyone wants to see him because I have watched him in the domestic circuit as well. And if you see his innings in T20, especially in the Pakistan Super League, was phenomenal. And the good thing was that he wasn't a hairy-fairy. He doesn't look hairy-fairy player. Now he is coming up with a proper technique, which is really important in 50 overs game. The second thing is that why not Sarfaraz? It's a question for me. If you see the stats, if you see the record of List A ODIs, Mohammad Haris versus Sarfaraz, Sarfaraz is definitely a big choice for me. But I don't think so that the Inzamam ul Haq, Babar Azam and the Mickey Arthur, they were on the same page. Because we have watched yesterday some of the news coming on different TV channels that there's a bit of hesitation between Babar Azam and Inzamam. But in the end, I think Rizwan have won this battle, and Mohammad Haris is in the squad. Though we do understand, and we have watched this, that the Babar Azam always shows respect for Sarfaraz. As he given chance to him in the test matches.
But Asif, what are we going to base this on? Is it respect, or is it what modern day requirement is for white ball cricket?
You tell me that are you happy with the way Haris plays even in the T20s or the ODIs? If you're happy, tell me about his technique.
I think first of all we need to explore what role the team wants to give to Haris if they're playing him. Otherwise, I think if you just need a secondary option on a bench strength, then better to have Haris on the bench than make Sarfaraz sit outside. That's something I think.
Seriously, if you see the Pakistan Cricket Board, the think tank, I'm not happy and I don't agree with their planning, especially with this role and inverted commas. The way they have given this role to Asif Ali, that we want only your 2-3 sixes, even Pakistan losing. It's not the planning there. The planning is that you would have to win the Asia Cup, you would have to win the World Cup, and these are our plans, plan A, plan B, plan C. You should change your plans even according to the situation during the match as well. It's all about your mental approaches, which I'm not happy. Why? Once again, I'm saying that. See, there's a huge difference between the personality of these two. Haris is a youngster, still lots of problem with his technique. But this is my question to you. Either you're happy and do you agree that he's a player who could play for the 50 overs, or you prefer and you would go with the Sarfaraz? Once again, the things are there, Ahmed. And then you know that when we talk about the influence of the franchise cricket in Pakistan, the Pakistan Cricket Board, they always takes pressure from the different franchises. I'm not taking any name. I'm not saying anything. I'm not pointing out someone specifically.
But you can tell us what your favorite franchise is. You can tell us that.
See, I love Pakistan Super League. That's it.
No particular. Well, Rizwan, this is an interesting debate, isn't it? Because when we talk about Haris and Sarfaraz, two different capabilities. And although Sarfaraz has been given a chance in the test squad where he received a call, they tried to probably give him another chance to fit into that role because obviously that suits him best. But as far as your secondary option for wicket keeping is concerned for white ball cricket, who would you rather have?
The first of all, I mean, where is our first class structure? Where is our list A structure? How many games have they played? Haris has played about 5 first class matches. That's what we have been saying for the last 2 years or so, that it's fine if somebody performs in PSL and comes into T20 cricket because that's a short-term sort of thing. But the exposure required to play one-day international cricket is completely different. Haris does not have the experience. He's just played 30-odd List A games. He has played 5 first-class games. So until and unless he proves himself in the longer versions, I'm not saying version, but versions, because one day is now more closer to test match cricket than compared to T20 cricket, because that's a different style of play. So for me, if it's just about giving exposure to somebody as a backup and he's not going to play, it doesn't really matter. But in case something happens to Rizwan, an injury or something, then for 50 overs you need somebody who can bat about 50-60 balls regularly, and Sarfaraz can do that. Haris hasn't proven that as yet. So very, very surprised at that.
It's surprising indeed as well. Tayyib Tahir, Rizwan, how would you rate Tayyib Tahir?
Well, he's done well. He is for a 30-year-old to play in the listing in the Asian emerging players. That was wonderful. He played a wonderful inning. He's a talented player, and that's also sad. this shows that we have lots of talent which gets wasted. And thanks to PSL, there was a platform where people could be seen. The games were televised, and that's why he got the exposure. He did well in the Emerging Cup. I just feel that until and unless the talent is exceptional, super exceptional, then fine. Otherwise, you should have have a rule that 30 odd or 2 years in first class cricket and 2 years of list A cricket, and then your overall experience should count, and that should be your entry. That should be a barrier to the entry.
Absolutely. Asif would like to add to that, but Asif, I'm also going to ask you this at a very particular moment, because Tayyib Tahir is one individual who we see play spin very well. But another big question arises in my mind is that I've seen a lot of experts and analysts in the past couple of days saying that Afghanistan, is an inexperienced side. 50 overs doesn't suit them. If you remember, this is the same side that almost beat us in the 2019 ODI World Cup.
Well, a problem which we guys are facing actually, that the players who are performing well in our domestic cricket, we're not giving them chances. Couple of examples there, Kamran Ghulam and Tayyib Tahir is as much young as Rizwan Bhai is, and I think that if you could give some chances to Rizwan Bhai, he could also play against these kind of sides.
But I can assure you, me and Rizwan Bhai can at least bat 20 overs together. I can assure you that.
And I can assure you that if you give me a chance, I could play 30 overs. See, there's a debate now.
But you're under 19. You don't qualify for the senior camp, right?
Yes, I'm under 19. That's right. See, the technique. You guys are talking about that the Tayyib, 30 years of age, he was playing against these kind of second tiers game, and performing well. And then you're giving him chances because, because he scored 100 against India. Honestly, give me this answer that playing against Jasprit Bumrah, Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins and the bowlers like them, you agree that the Tayyib Tahir is okay against these kind of bowling?
But
I'm not sure.
But as far as this squad is concerned for Afghanistan only, I think Tayyib has the ability to play spin very well.
So are you planning for the Asia Cup, or are you planning for the World Cup or not, or are you just concentrating on 3 ODIs? Your planning is a huge problem for me, that that the rest of the teams, they plan for the next couple of years, they even plan for the next couple of decades, that we are producing this player. I have given this example so many times. Kane Williamson, they have produced from the school cricket. Now he's the national captain. Now they're the test captain, and same as like Virat Kohli, that they have given him so many chances and they have picked him from the school cricket. They're under 19, and then that domestic, and then the national side. We don't have any plannings, dear. We have only one planning, and that is who is performing in the Pakistan Super League. Give him chances. What happened with the Ehsan? Everyone was talking about Saim Ayub. I was a huge supporter. Why is not performing up to the mark? Because he hasn't played much cricket, 4-day cricket. So dear, please try to understand the 4-day cricket is really important for the ODIs.
That brings us to another Pandora box, Asif, that for them to play 4-day cricket, there at least needs to be 4-day cricket, and PCB is still not sure of what structure they want to implement. The only positive sign from today's meeting that was held with regional presidents was that they decided to rebrand Grade 2 as Hanif Mohammad Trophy. That's it.
One line answer for me, I'm giving you one line answer, that is, and that you're not giving respect to your domestic cricket. You're just focusing on Pakistan Super League. That's it.
That's it. Rizwan, that's another conundrum at PCB right now. In about 4 meetings now, today marks the 4th meeting between the technical committee, and they invited the regional presidents. They're still not sure of what first-class Quaid-e-Azam Trophy structure they want to go with. Half of them say department separate, region separate. Half of them say together. They can't decide the number of teams. So it's all in a a jungle right now.
Well, it's been 70 years since they've been changing and chopping for the last so many times. Either they take a book from India, see Ranji Trophy and how they're planning and how they've done in the last 30 years, haven't made any changes, or England. There was a 1-tier system. There were 14 or 16 teams. Each team had to play everyone else. Then Durham got promoted, and after a couple of years, they made it into a 2-structure tier where there was promotions and relegations. New Zealand or Australia, they've had the same structure for the last 30 years or so. So, these things take time. England, thought a lot. It took them 7 years to decide if they're going to have a two-tier system or a single system. They went for a two-tier system, and that increased competition because, you know, playing in the first tier was sort of a promotion and people got relegated if they don't perform. You have to have stuff like that. The football has 5 different leagues in England. Spain has 3 different leagues, first division, second division, third division. So that's a system where every time 3 teams get promoted, 3 get relegated. We've been so confused, and the only way forward is until and unless politics is taken out, regions are empowered, and you have a cricket board which is, you know, self financing, self-sufficient, self-decision making. It can't be that the PM comes in, names the chief minister, and suddenly, you know, the board of governors all adopt him as the chairman of the board. So that's the reason, because it's a one-man thing. If I think that you know, this should be the system, and you think another system should be in place, the moment I get out, you come in, you change the system. And then if Asif comes in, the third person comes in, and, you know, there's a new system. It's never going to work.
That's a very good argument, because Asif, I think the biggest question mark is that why every time there's a World Cup, these kinds of things are happening at PCB, and number 2, that when things are going good for Pakistan cricket, things are changing on the back end.
Let me give you an example. Now we guys are discussing that Wasim Jr. is the all-rounder in Pakistan cricket team. See, if he is an all-rounder, then who was Abdul Razak? Who was Azhar Mahmood? Those guys performed so well with the bat, with the ball, and they were the match winners.
But you know, Naseem Shah also recognizes himself as an all-rounder.
And Shaheen.
Yes. Shaheen is taking batting very seriously.
Yeah.
See, this is all kind of statements coming from the different, you know, from different platforms, that if Wasim Jr. is you guys are, you know, doing for the comparison, and you guys are doing this comparison just because that Zaman Khan can't bat and Wasim Jr. is better than, you know, Zaman Khan, then the question is, if Fahim Ashraf is playing so well with the good technique, that why you haven't included him in the T20 World Cup squad?
Asif, I'll be very honest with you. I do not support the case of Fahim Ashraf. Why put Amir Jamal into a system and debut him and play him games when you were going to axe him after a couple of games? This is, we're back to square one. And I'll be very honest, maybe this is not the platform where I can say this, but I do know why Fahim Ashraf has been included into the squad.
And that's the reason,
Yes.
you know, the anchor should not be making statement as an expert.
Yes, yes.
Well, if you're not taking name, obviously I won't ask you again, and I can understand that why you're not taking the name. But the question is that, isn't he performing well? And if you see his stats, especially with the bat, with the ball, both, and he's a very good fielder as well. If you are telling me that he's not on the merit, then we could start another debate. Then we will ask definitely how Tayyib Tahir could play an emerging Asia Cup in the age of 30. Now the questions are still there.
Asif, 30
now
is emerging. Come on, don't say that.
Yeah, 30 is
You're going to break heart of all 30 years old? Don't say
30 is an emerging
Emerging,
age.
yes.
Is an emerging age in Pakistan, only in Pakistan. Rest of the teams, if you see that.
I've seen 25-year-old playing under-19 cricket on bogus birth certificates. We've seen that happening in Pakistan.
And that's why you are not producing real stars. You're not producing real stars after Wasim Akram, Waqar Yunus, Inzamam ul Haq, Mohammad Yusuf. You have only one name, and that is Babar Azam. That's why people are praising him, that so we have only one star. You're not producing, you're not giving chances on the right time. Why? See, Kamran Ghulam scored 2 times highest scores in the domestic circuit. And when he went there to the Bangladesh, everyone was thinking, and including you, we guys were discussing here that he could get the debut. But what happened next day? Abdullah Shafiq was there after playing 5 first-class games. This is not fair, dear. If you're not giving equal opportunities, equal chances, you cannot bring justice, especially in the cricket.
Justice delayed is justice denied. I think that's a very famous quote. But then,
Can I just add something?
yes,
I think the importance of first-class cricket can be seen from the fact the way Saud Shakil and Salman Ali Agha have performed. That's the biggest example. These are the only two who have come into the test team and performed really well in the last 1 year, because they have played 30-odd, 40-odd games in first-class cricket, 2 or 3 good seasons in first-class cricket. It builds their overall game. It has increased their exposure. And that's the reason when the transition to from first-class cricket to test match
but
cricket
would we say
been that
they're one
serious.
of the lucky ones who were recognized at least? Otherwise, players were recognized when they were either done with their careers or done with their current form that they're in.
Absolutely, that's a given. That's the reason they're here and they've performed. But had they come in straight away like Abdullah Shafiq, who had a wonderful Test debut in a couple of games, but after that he had a very big lull patch because of the fact that he didn't have the exposure, he didn't have the experience that 2 or 3 years of first-class cricket brings you.
Asif, now this becomes a big debate that then again you need a selection committee or a chief selector who's primarily focused on your domestic cricket, has a very keen eye, is going to first-class games. And I've seen that this all around the world. Rizwan Bhai gives majority examples from England's structure or Australia. We've seen their chief selectors in the crowd watching games. We've seen Indian chief selectors in the Ranji Trophy as well. That's why your chief selector needs to be dedicated towards first-class cricket, where he has a keen eye on everybody that's playing.
Ahmed, if you're not giving respect to domestic cricket, you cannot produce heroes, you cannot produce big names. Let me give you an example. I was in the commentary box in Gaddafi Stadium, in Rawalpindi Stadium, during the first-class games, and the crowd was not allowed. Even there was 11, 12 Test cricketers were playing there. Sarfraz, even there's Salman Ali Agha, and the rest of the players, I can name most names there. Hassan Ali, Fahim Ashraf, and the crowd wasn't allowed there. And I asked this question. So I got an answer, let me share with our viewers, that they said we cannot handle the security issues are there, so that's why we're not allowing this crowd to come inside and watch their heroes. These are your priorities. And the second thing is, you have taken 2 names, Saud Shakil, Salman Ali Agha, rightly said by Rizwan Bhai. Rizwan Bhai, I've watched their innings. While commentating, I was enjoying in Gaddafi Stadium. Rawalpindi, because Saud Shakil was in Sindh region, so most of the matches were in Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium. And if you watch his innings, unluckily we cannot watch on the TV, but you can find some highlights over the YouTube. You will find that how patience he was showing there, and the temperament Saud Shakil was showing, we can see now, and it reflects in his performances as well. Same with the Salman Ali Agha, and the previous chief selector Mohammad Wasim was in the Gaddafi Stadium, and he was about to announce the the squad, and and at once there Salman Ali Agha scored 100. So when you do hundreds, when you do 200s, and plenty of runs in the domestic circuit, it gives you confidence, and that's why both of these players are performing so well for Pakistan from last couple of years.
But Asif, what you're mentioning is, because let's be very honest, and it's not more than we can chew, but the fact is that after, and he still has a long way to go, Saud Shakil, but after the era of Yunus Khan, Mohammad Yusuf, even Misbah-ul Haq to an extent, if you talk about technicality, Saud Shakil becomes a name we've seen after a while now of a player who's very technically solid at that number.
Because he's playing domestic cricket for a long time. And if you see his cover drive, especially against the spins, the way he uses his feet and soft hand, he a lot learned from the domestic circuit, from the domestic cricket, where you are playing 4-day cricket and list day matches. So it always comes with the time, with the passage of time. But if you're not giving time, you're not giving respect, you're not going to play, first-class games. Most of the players, if you talk about Shadab Khan, he doesn't play in domestic cricket. Even that I can name. So Rizwan was busy, of course, with the national duties. Babar Azam, of course. But these 2 players I have watched personally, that they were putting so much efforts. And let me take one important name, and that is the real emerging star, and Huraira. I have watched him and Umair bin Yusuf, both of them. They were, doing some practice sessions in the domestic matches, during the lunch break, during the tea break. When you're giving time to your technique, you will definitely get improvement. If you're not giving time and you're just coming up and you play only T20 cricket, hairy-fairy shots, then definitely, even if you have abilities, if you have talent, you cannot perform well like Saim Ayub. Saim Ayub is an example, is a big example for us, that he has plenty of talent, but he cannot perform up to the mark because he hasn't played much cricket, he hasn't played much domestic cricket. That's why he cannot perform up to the mark.
Interestingly, if you talk about the case of Saud Shakil, Pakistan has been so obsessed with Haris Sohail as far as a left-handed middle order batsman is concerned. It's great to see that we now move on to Saud Shakil, who we can rely on. But to be on the good side, it's not just first-class cricket, Rizwan. Even List A, he's got an average of 45, 77 games List A. So he's got that experience if we decide to put him into the middle order for one-day cricket as well.
Of course it is, and the important thing is that you never look with a closed view. You cannot, just focus on one player or two players or three players. You need to look at the entire domestic structure. You need to identify the players who have played important games, not just the easy games against Balochistan and all that. And you need to improve the pitches. Overall, Saud Shakir is not a bad choice, but the problem is, for me, it's too close to the World Cup. It's even if he performs well in the 3 ODIs against Afghanistan
And the Asia Cup,
and the Asia Cup, suddenly you bring him into the World Cup, and it's a crunch situation. He'll have exposure of about 8, 9 maximum matches against Australia or India or in the semi-finals if we're lucky and make it that far.
Well, had it been a year before, you would have agreed.
Exactly.
And then Ahmed, we required players like Andy Bickle, who could perform in the later down, and if we do not have players in the middle order, good players, Salman Ali Agha, yes, Saud Shakil, if you're giving him chances and if you think that he could do something special for you in the Asia Cup or in the World Cup, honestly, to be very honest, not a good idea, because I strongly agree with Rizwan Bhai that the exposure is really, really important. And
But Andy Bickle, you want me to call Ahmed Shahzad for a call back to the national side now? Nasir Jamshed,
Ahmed
Shahzad
was an opening batter, and Andy Bickle, he used to bat on number 8, number 9.
So number 8, number 9, Azaz Chima is still an option. We can give him a call if you want. Probably bring him into the side.
Azaz Chima was a very good player. Yeah, you're right. See, once again, the debate is that either we are taking good decision on the right time or not. I don't think so. I strongly disagree with two names.
But Asif, too early, like Rizwan, I mean, how much time do we have? 2 months before the World Cup, that's it. I mean, if you talk about Pakistan's schedule, it's so full right now that any change you make is directly going to impact the World Cup. So, I'm tempted to ask both of you then, if not 11, what is your 12 for the World Cup then? For the World Cup, and I mean a proper final side that you think each and, both of you can give this simultaneous answer. What's your 12 order-wise that you want to take, or 11, let's be particular, for the World Cup? We'll start with you, Asif. What's the 11 you want for the World
We
Cup?
go together.
Well, Asif, I really want to see, where that thought lies of picking the best 11 for Pakistan right now.
See, once again, Fakhar Zaman, either you like him or not, I once again, lots of question mark, and I'm telling you that I'm not hopeful that he could play well or he could perform well. Still, good luck, Fakhar Zaman. Then, of course...
Is he your opener, Fakhar Zaman, or one down?
Of course.
You're opening with Fakhar and Imam ul Haq?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have Abdullah Shafiq.
At 3.
Then Babar Azam.
At 4.
Rizwan.
5.
And then I'm missing Imad Wasim on number 6, honestly. But see, he's not in the team, so I'll go Salman Ali Agha, number 6. Number 7, Iftikhar. And then you have, sorry, not Iftikhar, you'll go with Shadab Khan. And then you'll go with Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, and Haris Rauf. This is your playing 11.
Very interesting. I like the fact you have Iftikhar in there as well. So,
And if Iftikhar is there, it could be, it's
Rizwan.
exactly the same team that he said, and everyone knows that. Imam is nailed, Fakhar is nailed. He had questions regarding Fakhar. I have questions regarding Imam. I haven't seen him perform well other than in Pakistan. He did well against Australia in the one-day internationals, but they were all in Pakistan. I haven't seen anything that shows, since Inzamam ul Haq is the skipper, the coach or the selector. So he's nailed in for number 1, so is Fakhar. Babar is nailed in at 4. 3 is doubtful. 3 because we've been playing Shan Masood and he's been dropped, so Abdullah probably comes in.
Oh, who do you think is the better one?
I think probably because Abdullah hasn't played too many one-day internationals as well, and Shan has flopped miserably.
So both of them become a question.
Yes, so it's either, or the other option could be Babar goes to 3 because he's always performed opening in T20 cricket. So Babar goes at 3 for me. And at 4 you could have Saud Shakir, 5 you could have Rizwan or Iftikhar, 6 you could have, 5 and 6 Iftikhar and Rizwan. And then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 you have 7 at Salman Ali Agha, 8 you have Shadab, 9, 10, 11 it'll be the 3 seamers.
No, but so it means that in World Cup you're including Saud Shakil in your squad?
with the way he has performed in Test match cricket, and if he does well in the 3 one-days against Afghanistan, definitely is in, because the slot is open. Even if you look at Iftikhar's record, it's not too great in one-day internationals.
Then Rizwan,
I would have to take a lead at this one, where I technically think that 2 names who have made it to the Pakistan squad now permanently for the World Cup, who are eyeing their chances. One of them is Salman Ali Agha. Let's be very honest, and I really think Babar's got a lot of backing for Saud Shakil in the World Cup squad. I think that is something we might just see happening. But that being said, we now move on to India and West Indies. They've had an interesting T20 international series so far. West Indies, although they're 2-1 up, but India won the 3rd one, so clearly a shift in momentum somewhat. Sky was the player of the match, and we're going to look at that series and particularly that third T20 international as well. We've got a package by Satwat. Let's take a look and come back.
In a thrilling encounter, India emerged victorious against the West Indies in the 3rd T20 match to keep the series alive. West Indies, batting first, managed to score 159 for 5, with Brandon King top scoring at 42 and Powell contributing an unbeaten 40. Kuldeep Yadav's exceptional bowling performance, taking 3 wickets for 28 runs, kept the West Indies in check. Chasing a target of 160, India's Surya Kumar and Tilak Verma's partnership proved pivotal. India's batting brilliance, led by Surya Kumar Yadav's stunning 83 runs off 44 balls, kept India on track, while Tilak's unbeaten 49 provided crucial support. India ultimately won the match by 7 wickets, while Tilak hitting the winning runs and finishing on 49. Surya Kumar Yadav was named the man of the match for his match-defining knock. This victory marked India's resurgence in the T20 series, narrowing the scoreline to 2-1 in West Indies' favour.
Well, there you have it, all you need to know about this series, and particularly this T20 International as well. That was a package by Satwat. Now, Asif, India, although they've won the 3rd one, they're still 2 down in the series as well. West Indies are leading 2-1. Who would have expected that so far? But clearly, like I said, they're in some sort of experimental phase right now.
Yeah, in bilateral series, you go for the experience and give chances to the new players. For example, if Sky is performing there and Pandya is their captain, what does it mean that the rest of the senior players, they're taking rest? They're just making themselves, that they have series against South Africa ahead, and then, of course, Asia Cup, and then World Cup. We guys, in the break and during this package, when we were watching this, we were talking about the abilities of Sky. He's genuinely a 360 player. But once again, the question is that there's a difference between 50 overs game and T20. As you were mentioning and you were sharing with us that in his interview, he said that, yes, I'm not ready for the ODIs. I'll have to work more. This is your mental approach when you want to do something special. Yes, I'm only fit for the T20, but I will make myself perfect for the ODIs as well. So this series definitely bringing some new faces from the Indian side, and West Indies, they're out from the ODI World Cup, and they're also getting some momentum for the upcoming series, and after the World Cup, definitely they will think about it, that how to fix their problems. So the problems with the Indian cricket team and the West Indies side, I think Rohit Sharma is the skipper. I'm not happy with his physique, his health, his fitness. Still, that with this bulky body, you cannot perform up to the mark, honestly.
Are you talking about physical fitness or psychological fitness as well at the same time?
Both,
a lot of pressure.
It lots of pressure on the Rohit Sharma, because they haven't won any big tournament after taking his charge as captain. So, and on the other side, Virat Kohli, he's also out of form. But this young side, of course, that could do something special in the future.
Rizwan, this whole debate about India, whatever they're playing right now, automatically the focus is what are they going to do in the World Cup. A lot of people have actually said that this might be a very difficult World Cup for India, although they're playing in home conditions. So what would you like to say about that? So?
Well, first of all, it's going to be a very, very difficult World Cup for everyone, period. No, because the fact it's a round robin thing. Every team has to play every other team. So there's a lot of pressure. No game is easy. As you saw, West Indies haven't qualified, even though India were missing a couple of players, but India lost. Even the T20 series, when Pakistan played Afghanistan, we lost a couple of games because we weren't playing all the teams. So that just shows that every game is serious. You can't take any game easy. Even Scotland, Afghanistan are going to be there, Bangladesh. Any team which just lacks a bit is going to lose out, and once you lose a game, then that's 2 points lost. So it's going to be tough for everyone. I love the fact that India experiments. Pakistan lacks experimentation, even against Netherlands, where we play Babar and Rizwan and all that. No, it's a fact. And that's the reason India finds good players. They've got some fine youngsters in Ishan Kishan, Surya Kumar Yadav, Shubman Gill. But the fact is that they're going to be relying on Kohli and Rohit Sharma. And as Asif said, Rohit, for me, is past his prime. He got the captaincy a bit too late. He either shouldn't have gotten it, or he should have gotten it a couple of years early. But now he's not fully fit. It's going to be a very different top order because KL Rahul is not going to be there. That will put a lot of pressure on the youngsters. Surya Kumar Yadav, wonderful player, but he's yet to prove himself in one-day internationals. He's been doing remarkably well in the T20s, but one day is a completely different ball game. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Indian team and the players, and the fact that India is playing at home. Every game, every crowd, every chant is going to be on them. The focus is going to be on them, and I hope India does well, but it'll be very, very tough.
But Rizwan, the technical problem is that 50-over cricket, you need solid partnerships in between. And right now, if there was one player I could pick, would only be Virat Kohli. Automatically, the burden of pressure comes back to him. Otherwise, technically, we're not seeing a player so far.
I think you identified a player in the break, Ajinkya Rahane.
Yeah.
He's another one, because 50-over game, you can't have Muhammad Haris type players or Sky type players. You need to depend on somebody. These players, the T20 players, are good at number 5 and 6 when there's a short target, 4 to 6 overs. But the moment you need to develop a game, you need to play 50 overs. You need to lose 3 quick wickets, and you need to play 30 overs, and then wait for the last 10 overs to go wham bam. You need players who you can rely on, like Babar and Rizwan for Pakistan. Iftikhar usually doesn't do that. Iftikhar is another one for Pakistan who has yet to prove himself in one internationals. So Surya Kumar Yadav does really well when there's a short target in sight. But for the longer version, 50 overs, I haven't seen anything in the Indian team that shows me that their middle order is going to be probably a weakness.
Definitely. Asif, I'll just ask you a final word about India's middle order, or a player that you think could probably be added to that squad to strengthen their chances for the World Cup.
Well, see that the Indian plannings, and because it's the home World Cup for them, and they, after Mahendra Singh Dhoni, they haven't won any World Cup, and they were not up to the mark. If you talk about their middle order, rightly said by Rizwan, that the only 2 players we can eye on them, and that is Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. If they're performing well for their team, of course they will get some victories. But in the middle order, I can see that they have some good players, like, as you said, that Ajinkya Rahane, technically strong, and he has proved himself in ODIs, even in 5-day cricket. So I want to watch him. And we will talk about that some other players like Shubman Gill, that another very, very good talent. But still, that this is a World Cup, the pressure could be different, and responsibilities could be different. In these kind of pressure, who could perform well? Still a question mark.
Still a question mark, definitely. And we do certainly think that because too much influence of the IPL, there's been a lot of T20 oriented cricket and then Ranji Trophy cricket. So somewhat in between, one-day cricket, not just in India, all around the world, has really suffered. And I think that's where India's chances really need to improve as far as getting players who are technically sound for one-day cricket, or that transition to one-day cricket, are concerned. And obviously, I think that only time will tell. It's still a World Cup in India where they're strongest at their home. So we'll see what kind of combinations they go for. But Rizwan, thank you very much for joining us on the show. K. Asif, thank you very much to you as well for joining us on the show. Now we move to the focus with the Asian Champions Trophy hockey tournament. India beating Pakistan 4-0, but not just that. Pakistan have been knocked out and have not qualified for the semi-final for the first time in the tournament's history. So that is something that we really need to worry about as a nation as far as our national game hockey is concerned. We've got a report on this as well. We've got to digress upon this topic as much as we can, but let's watch this report by Palvasha and then we come back.
India beat Pakistan by a score of 4-0 in the Asian Champions Trophy. The hero top scorer of the Hero Asian Champions Trophy has struck again.
In the first quarter, Pakistan displayed superb play and stopped India's sure goals. In the 13th and 23rd minute, Indian captain Harmanpreet Singh scored twice, while Jagraj Singh added a third goal in the 36th minute. Each of the three goals was scored from a penalty corner. In the 55th minute of the fourth quarter, Arshdeep Singh scored India's fourth goal. The national team will now compete against China for the fifth position.
Well, there you have it. That report by Palvasha details what happened in that game. 4-0 down, Pakistan were beaten. India were absolutely superb. They're one of the contenders to win this tournament, but it's been very disappointing as far as Pakistan is concerned. And obviously, we all try to identify problems, solutions, what we can do, but so far, it just looks like a dead end for Pakistan hockey. But let's see, hoping that things improve. That wraps it up from me and the entire team of Sports Extra. It's goodbye for now.